We were really inspired by some of these industrial robots that you can see out in the world now, and especially the kind of motion qualities that they have, right? The not quite human, too fast, too precise, too powerful almost, but also some existing video works that we'd made, including this one called Machine Learning, which was this kind of response between a human dancer and this kind of machine learning or digital form. But one of the things that is exciting about the show that we've put on downstairs in collaboration with the amazing curation team led by Bethan here at ACMI is that we've showed a little bit behind the scenes. And if you go and see the show, you'll be able to see some of the sketches that Matt Pike has made and makes all throughout the process. And I really want to emphasize that, right? That pencil and paper is still the most effective and quickest way of communicating a visual idea. And in fact, that kind of muscle memory that you get from drawing is really useful, right? So we started kind of exploring what kind of shapes would work and doing endless sketches on that. And then thinking about what kind of responses could come to a human figure. How could we mirror something with a synthetic form that is still clearly evoking the pose that the human in front of it is making, and what different families of synthetic forms can we make with a kind of stick figure in the center? Can we do tubes? Can we do floating limbs, wires and branches? What about a blob? How could a mini drone swarm look? And how are they going to evolve over time, right? So initially we have this simpler shape, and then steadily it gets more and more complicated before collapsing. And we went through this, and we do this on every single project, right, which is a huge amount of drawing work before we start simulating things in software. This was this kind of blob approach that actually ended up being abandoned quite early on because it was a bit too blobby. You couldn't really tell what was going on anymore. And so we moved on to more of a kind of tube appearance, as it were. And it immediately started feeling kind of better to interact with. Right, that there was something abstracted with the shadow and everything else like that, but there was definitely a play that you could make between yourself and this digital form. And only when we got the monochrome, simple shaded look right, did we start moving on to more experiments with color and depth of field and shadow and how complexity could evolve over time. Again, rejecting much more than we actually ended up putting in, this kind of spillikins look, then going on to spheres, different shadings. How can that work over time? What kind of color combinations, these kind of more atomic shapes? Again, just cycling through this, endlessly testing again and again and again. And then really testing the limits of the system, right? There's something that we really love to do as a studio is kind of thinking about this kind of possibility of generative art where we're kind of defining the extremities of the system, and then generative processes can kind of go between those points. And it's really difficult, right? There's this kind of perception somehow that generative systems, you just leave it up there, put it onto random, and away you go. But actually the tuning of these systems is extremely subtle and incredibly important to make something that doesn't just break down as soon as you let it out into the wilds of the gallery or into other public spaces. So we ended up defining and refining these different categories where we're like, okay, we're going to do these variety of sizes, these different styles. We're going to do some color variations, different materials, different opacity, different glow, different density. And which of these attributes that we choose to generate frame by frame end up being incredibly important. And then only then did we go into the kind of really sophisticated, almost photorealistic attempts to these kind of custom shaders, trying to get something that was synthetic but sophisticated, and also adding in sound at this point. And then still we can't help ourselves doing some really weird stuff before kind of reining it back in. These kind of sparkly pink forms ended up being, I think, taken out. But yeah, constantly trying again and again and again, seeing how far we can push this system. How does it feel? And also, how does the sound play into it? I should say that all of the works that you've seen so far and all the ones that you'll see in the rest of the presentation are all the audio is done by Freefarm, also known as Matt Pike's brother, Simon. So keeping it in the family. Yeah, and then this is the kind of final quality of look. And you can see it running downstairs. We've got it set up on both sides of this kind of monolith, so a person can play on either side.